they want to travel alone, but they don't want to do all the planning, and like it's almost like they want to have a community. So I would akin it also, you know, since we're both entrepreneurs, as being a little bit like, you know, if you're in a business group or you own a business,
Right.
You're in a business group, you're all running your own business, but you want that support of each other. So they're all planning their solo trip, but they want the support of one another. So, and I learned that as well on my trip, that I think one of the pieces that was so transformational was me having a group of people here in the US who knew what I was doing and knew how intentional I was trying to be, and they were supporting me and cheering me along in the process. It was a huge, it made a huge difference in my life.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives. Well, who wants to travel? I have a very special guest for you today, and she is going to talk about how travel may be a very holistic, I guess that's the word I'm going to use. It may be very healing. Maybe for all you that have not traveled so much since COVID, you want to get back out there. Maybe you don't want to go alone. But this is a special show for women that are over 40 that would love to experience travel and just kind of maybe find yourself out there. I want to welcome to the show Dawn Pick Benson, and she is a travel coach. We're going to learn all about her business and how she can get you maybe out of your house, going someplace that you've always wanted to go. Welcome to the show, Dawn.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to be here.
I'm glad we were introduced, and I don't think I've ever heard of a travel coach. So when we had our initial meeting to talk about what we can share on the show, I was just like, wow, that is very interesting. So I want you to tell me, what does a travel coach do and how did you get into this?
Oh my gosh. I'll try to keep it short. A travel coach, so I think we're all familiar with what a travel agent does. So you often go to a travel agent, you say, for example, maybe I want to go to France. Can you help plan that for me? They go away for a little while. They basically plan your whole itinerary for you often, will get you your tickets. They do all the details for you. So they work for you. And I, as a travel coach, I kind of look at it as I'm working with you to plan your travel. So, and it's a little bit, the difference is a little between like fishing for someone or teaching them how to fish. So what I do is I work with women and I work alongside them and help them figure out how to plan their trip. I actually take a step back a little bit. I like to say I help them set the table for their transformative travel experience. So we step back a little bit further where I start asking a lot of questions about why they want to travel. So looking at, I'm really a big believer in that if someone wants to travel, I think there's something inside of them. It's sort of like their soul is calling out for some kind of experience. They're wanting to feel something, and that's often why they want to travel. It's why they want to go somewhere. So I take that step back and I ask them a lot of questions, and we talk a lot about that so that we can then create together a really intentional travel experience versus, you know, sometimes if you call a travel agent, you may just tell them I want to go to France, and well, I know my friend saw this site, and this site. Could you please make sure that's included? And then suddenly you have an itinerary, but it's not as, I don't know if I want to say thoughtful, but it's not as intentional necessarily as when I work with someone and kind of help them figure out what that place is that their soul is really calling out to. And then I work alongside of them and help them plan the trip. So I work with them before the trip, and then while they're there, they have some coaching experiences with me where we troubleshoot, we talk about what they're experiencing. You know, they can ask me questions if they're dealing with something that's difficult, or maybe we just celebrate really fun things that they're doing. And then when they come back, we debrief, because there's a lot of research that shows coming back is maybe one of the hardest things, because you're coming back into your normal life and you're trying to integrate all the things that you learned. So with a travel coach, you're really kind of getting this wraparound experience where I'm helping you to maybe, make your travel more experiential, more transformational in a deeper way than you might experience just doing it on your own.
Okay, so then as you're saying all that, we've had a conversation. You kind of fell into this because this is something, you grew up in a small town. Can you share how you got into this? And you wanted kind of an adventure of travel was always there. Not ever, you know how we can look up at the stars and want to see the universe, right? It's bigger than life. It's really cool. But for all of us, travel gives each person a different experience. They're seeking something. Maybe people want to go skiing. Maybe I'm a golfer. I told you that when we spoke. I golf to a lot of places. I want to experience golf courses, whatever. But tell us your backstory. What happened to you? Because I'm interested to hear how you got into this.
Yes, I grew up in a tiny town on a farm, actually, and never traveled anywhere till I was in college. The first time I saw the ocean was when I was a freshman in college, and went to New York City on a school trip. So, but I remember being young and always curious about the world, always wanting to go somewhere and just not really having that opportunity. And so the first chance I got, I figured out a way to take a trip overseas. I'm a little bit unusual in that the first time I went on a trip and decided to go somewhere, I literally looked at the globe and thought, where's the farthest away possible place I could go? And I chose India. So
India, how many years back is this?
This is 1993, I think.
Wow.
So I was in my 20s.
What was that like to get off the plane and see
Oh,
India?
It was otherworldly. I don't know. I had an amazing experience, but my family also, my parents, it was a volunteer, a trip where a group of volunteers went. And so when I decided I wanted to go, my parents actually said, well, you need to take your brother with you.
Did you?
So he did go with me. So I ended up not going alone because they were not into me going on my own to India. He's
brother?
older.
Okay.
Yeah, older.
All right.
So we went and did this volunteer experience, and it was incredible. I had an incredible time, and that is where, people talk about a travel bug. It kind of feels that way, where I just fell in love with learning about cultures. And so I always then I came back and, over the course of my life, I always sort of try to figure out how to integrate travel into my life. I never could quite figure out how to make it my actual work or my livelihood. But, when I used to work at a university, and so I would take students on study abroad trips and things like that. So I'd figure out ways to integrate travel.
Trips? Yeah, really. It could be expensive.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So you figure out ways to travel, but, it came to about how many years ago? Maybe 5 years ago, where I was in my 40s and I started really just questioning, how it happens sometimes in midlife where you're questioning all these things like, do I actually love the career I have? Am I going to be happy doing this?
You were a writer, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I still am a writer. I still do a lot of writing, but there was a piece of me that felt like I was missing something. Like I still loved writing, I still do write, but I felt like there was something more I could give. And I started noticing that there were a lot of women would ask me questions about when they were in the midst of life transition, often career transitions,
Right.
asking me questions, so much so that some of my friends were noticing it and saying, where are these women coming from that you're having
Why are you
coffee
attracting
with?
all these
Yes,
women
what
that
is going on here? And so I noted it, and I was in my own transition at the time, trying to figure out what is next in my life, asking questions about my career, asking questions. I was in a long-term marriage that wasn't going so well, so I decided to go on my own trip overseas just to kind of figure out, you have all these voices in your life when you're home, and you're sort of feel sometimes like you're a mouse, on a wheel or something, and you're going
Nobody
and going
understands.
and going.
Yes.
And you don't have time to just listen to yourself and to listen to, just to kind of let wisdom drop in and speak. And so that's how I decided to go overseas and travel, and I had such a transformative experience doing that. And then I came back, and I don't know, some time passed, and I was still kind of wrestling with the career thing. And I had a conversation with a friend who said, that trip that you just took absolutely changed you. It's so obvious. Why don't you teach other women to do that? And I kind of looked at her and I said, that's not a job. Like, no one's going to pay me to do something like that.
Exactly. They can call a travel agent.
Yeah,
they can,
what is that?
You can do it online.
Yes,
Correct?
and so I just kind of, I heard the question, but I also just kind of went about as, that's probably not a thing. But I would say maybe, I don't know, a few months later, I often do morning meditations. And in that meditation, I had this phrase that came to my mind, and it was something about teaching women to travel. And so I grabbed my phone and I Googled it. And as soon as I did that, the listing out came travel coach, travel coach, travel coach. And I went, oh, that is a job?
I didn't think it was a job
And
either.
so I started researching it, and I found out there were actually people doing this. And then I looked at it and thought, well, what could I bring to the table? Because at the time, it was a lot of women who were younger than me who were teaching young women to solo travel. And I didn't really want to do that, but I thought, you know what? I have an awful lot of women who ask me questions about life and career transition, and I have found that travel is a really great way to find clarity and healing. And so what if I could do that? What if I could help other women to do that, maybe in a small group setting or in a one-on-one coaching setting? So I just kind of dipped my toe into it and said, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to start, offering it as something and see, could I get a few people to sign up? And that's kind of really how it started.
Well, then, and you gear your business towards over 40, which I can see why that is. Right? You don't have as much responsibility. You're reflecting on your life choices, decisions, your family, everything, and all of a sudden, people kind of poo-hoo it, but it is. Some people don't do it to their 50s because they may have other responsibility. I might have been in a career that hasn't been as satisfying, but it made a lot of money and things like that. And they maybe have more resources now that their life has changed, which you probably see. And maybe they just going on an adventure, but they're unsure what that would look like. So share with us when you sit down with these women, what exactly do you want to experience on this trip, right? Whatever. Because I would say, to me, I wanted an adventure. We talked about this. I did zip lining, which is an adventure for me, but I didn't want to skydive. But that was enough. But it was just like I told you, I'm like, I just wanted a little bit of adventure, just to kind of, I don't know, wake me up.
Yeah.
Wake me up a little bit. I feel like I feel like I'm just kind of drifting, and I need a little hiccup.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I work with a lot of women who kind of are in that situation whether it's just I need some vibrancy back into my life, or I want some adventure, or whatever that is. And I'm actually right now the group program. I do this group program called Brave Journey, which is a small group of women who are interested in creating their own transformational solo travel experience. And but they want to travel alone, but they don't want to do all the planning, and it's almost like they want to have a community. So I would akin it also, since we're both entrepreneurs, as being a little bit like, if you're in a business group or you own a business,
right? You're
in a business group, you're all running your own business, but you want that support of each other. So they're all planning their solo trip, but they want the support of one another. So, and I learned that as well on my trip, that I think one of the pieces that was so transformational was me having a group of people here in the U.S. who knew what I was doing and knew how intentional I was trying to be, and they were supporting me and cheering me along in the process. It was it made a huge difference in my life. So that's why when I started thinking about travel coaching, I wanted to think about doing a small group program, so that they're not only empowering themselves, but they're also just cheering one another along in the process, and they kind of leave these really great lifelong friends. So
that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I think too, and I've done that. I told you I reconnected with a cousin that we didn't we grew up together, but then we drifted due to our lifestyle, life changes and stuff like that, responsibility. About when you travel with people in a different country, culture, whatever, somehow this bonding happens because you really rely on each other, but you're having this adventure, but you can still look over and maybe see Dawn, and she understands I like coffee in the morning. I mean, you understand. Can you share a little bit that women experience where they get this bonding when they're traveling?
Yes, yes. Because I was just talking about the small group program where they go one-on-one. But this year, for the first year, I'm doing a retreat where a group of women are meeting me in the country of Montenegro in southeastern Europe, and and we're going to all kind of show up there together and really go through an intentional process of experiencing another country and the ups and downs that can happen to that, and also the community that they're going to form together. And it really is true when you almost miss a bus together or you end up going. I have a friend that I traveled with one time, and we ended up 3 miles past because we couldn't figure out how to get the bus to stop or how to tell the bus to stop. And so we had all these groceries, and we ended up walking with these groceries because we didn't know. But that bonded us really for life, because we're still in touch with each other now after that experience. It really does bring out something different in you, and it's really amazing. Or even the women who are traveling on their own, it's so fun to watch how they're following one another and cheering one another on. Like one of the women in my group right now is over in Thailand. And so we are all in a WhatsApp group, which is an app on your phone to communicate. And so she's been sending us pictures from where she is. And yesterday she was so proud of herself. She went to a night market and got this huge kebab full of meat and all this different stuff. And she has this great picture of it. And then she sends us this video and she says, I was so proud of myself. I got this kebab and I was eating it, and I got to the part where it looks like a red bell pepper, and I ate the whole thing, and I realized that is the hottest pepper I've ever had in my life. And she was like, she had to run to the home to get to deal with it.
Well, I love watching those food, on the Food Networks, these guys that travel, women, and you try all these foods. I mean, I hear in India, the food's just amazing. People don't realize that. Where does people want to go? Do they just pick the basic France, or they just like, I want to be off the grid a little bit?
Yeah. It is all over the board, and it really comes from where you were asking earlier about how they choose where they're going to go. I think what I often do with the groups and when I'm working, or when I'm even working with a woman one-on-one, is I ask you, and this is what I would do with you, imagine the most beautiful, extraordinary, amazing trip you could possibly have. So I often say, go somewhere, close your eyes, somewhere peaceful where no one's going to bother you, and just kind of check in with yourself. And if I could create the most incredible experience, what would that look like? And for this exercise, it's okay if it sounds a little bit crazy. Like, I would love to go on a round the world trip and do all of these things, because it doesn't necessarily have to all be possible. But what I do with the women is we look at what story did you create. So just for example, a woman named Robin in my group, she painted this beautiful picture of, I'm wandering around the streets, these cobblestone streets. It's ancient. There's there are cafes everywhere, and I can stop whenever I want and have an espresso or a glass of wine, and nobody needs anything from me. My kids are all home. I am just experiencing it and seeing all the beauty that is around me. And so when I heard her paint that picture, we talked first of all as where is that? Do you know where that place is? And for her, she said immediately, south of France. Now another woman painted a picture of of feeling vibrant and alive. She's an artist, and a place where she could do her art and really enjoy that and be near the water. She wasn't as sure about where it would be, but we ended up figuring out that maybe it would be Greece for her. And so that's sort of how they end up choosing their places, and that's why I say it's a little all over the map, because they might come in with one idea of, I would like to go here,
right?
But then when we start talking about what Because the reason I have them do that imagining is it often evokes feelings. So, you know, when Robin was doing her imagining and she was on the cobblestone streets and having her coffee, like, what do you imagine? What kind of feelings would you get from that? So
Just serene and safe, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
people don't feel as safe in certain areas,
Yeah.
and when they talk to you, it's like, no, I've been, you know, you're going to be okay. You know,
Yeah,
and you know,
yeah.
to take that step, because people are like, you know, because it's everywhere. I think we're just bombarded with fear. So you're looking
Yeah.
for the safetiness. And I would say to you, if I was talking to you, it's like, I want to go on a ski resort. I don't care, it could be the Aspen or whatever. I don't ski, but I want to watch other people. I want to be the little village. And I want to sit, you know, my hot toddy or, you know, or coffee and look out the, you know, they have those big view windows. And I want to watch other people ski and I want to walk through and through the shops. But I don't want to ski because
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. But I just want to be part of that life for maybe a week. And just
Yeah.
interact, right? And you'd be like, okay, well, here's some pots. There's Tahoe. There's, you know, so Aspen, whatever. You know, I'm like, okay, and I'm gonna fireplace, and just hearing people's stories.
Right. And so what you're saying to me is sort of like, I want to feel peaceful, but I also want to feel connected.
Right.
Right? And so what we would do then is, we figure out what are those places. Maybe it might be Tahoe, maybe it's a few other options. And then also when you're planning your trip, you have those, I usually have them narrow it down into 2 to 3 words. So yours might be peaceful, connected, maybe you'd add another one. And then when you are planning your trip and while you're there, you have those words with you so that it helps you filter what you're going to choose to do, because what would make me feel peaceful, what would make me feel connected, these are the things I need on this trip. So it also keeps you from doing stuff that maybe isn't going to fill your tank. It might be things that other people want you to do or
Right.
think you should see, but maybe you don't need to see it or do it.
Yeah,
So
I love
maybe you
beaches.
don't need to go skiing. You just want to have your hot chocolate and hear stories and be around people.
Right.
So that gives you permission. It's really kind of freeing to get permission to be like, this is what my trip is about. And even if everyone else thinks it should be about these other things, this is what my trip is about. And then you
Exactly.
get to enjoy it.
People
And-
think it's strange. You don't want to ski. No, I just want to hear it, you know. Well, I went to Mexico, the beaches, whatever. I'm not a beach person. I love the beach. I love looking at the beach, walking the beach. I didn't want to get up, lay in the beach, spend all my time at the beach as other people did. So that wasn't a good fit for me. After like 3 days, I was ready to go home. It's like going to Vegas. I'm out of here. And, you know, in 48
Yeah,
hours,
yeah.
that was all I wanted. But anyway, so that would be, and that's kind of strange, even though I love golfing. That's another adventure I want to have. It's just, I told my husband, I need to go to Vermont or something like Maine, and just some kind of ski resort and be that way. Okay, so when they call you up, all right, so what services do you offer? Just, how's the process work?
Sure. Usually I just talk to the person, ask a lot of questions, and kind of get an idea of what they're looking for. And, you know, I offer a couple of things. I do specialize in group programs. So if I think it's a good fit and my Brave Journey program is a fit for them and they're interested in solo travel, that's what we often talk about is, when is that starting, or is it a good time for you to jump into the current group? Or, you know, it's on a rotational basis that I offer that. I also have done one-on-one coaching. Some people don't want to be in a group, or maybe they just need some questions. I talked to a woman the other day who's going to Bali, and she was just curious, am I going in the right direction? I'm starting to plan my trip, but I'm not sure if I'm choosing the right things.
Yeah, they just need somebody to kind of
Yeah.
walk around alongside them. They have, like you said,
Yeah.
you try to figure out what they want, but maybe they don't even realize they don't want a group, and then they get in, and then because nothing's more fun than, you know, traveling with somebody you feel safe with,
yeah.
right?
And the retreats really kind of happened because I noticed there were a lot of women who said, I think I want to solo travel maybe at some point, but I'm not ready for that yet. And I'd really I really would love the idea to just be able to show up somewhere and know there are other people there. And they also, you know, and some of them have seen my travels. I tend to travel, I call it slightly off the beaten path. So I like going places that aren't quite as touristy. And so also have had a lot of women say, you seem to always know where to pick the really cool, beautiful places that aren't so expensive. So can we travel with you? And at first,
Exactly.
my answer was no. And then eventually I thought, you know what? What if I did a retreat that could just be a place for women to come and and be inspired and maybe find healing. You know, often my retreat this time is focused on women who are in the middle of some kind of transition in their life.
Right.
And some of them are married, some of them are not. You know, some of them are becoming empty nesters, some of them have recently ended a relationship. There are all these different, but the connection is there's something, you know, there's a transition happening in their life, and they don't want to feel alone, but they also would love to be in a beautiful place and just feel inspired and connect with themselves. So, you know, if I talk to someone and they're a good fit for a retreat, I'm going to start doing those at least once a year. I'm actually thinking about doing one during the holidays as well, because I hear, especially women solo travelers, I hear a lot of women say they don't have, especially as they get older, don't always have something to do during the holidays.
Correct.
Or somewhere to go. And so I'm considering doing that next year.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I want to get out of Dodge too for the holidays. I don't have any grandchildren, and I don't, you know what I'm saying? My whole life is different now, and I'm like, you know, let's go to a resort and have the holidays with complete strangers, right? You give you a big tree and watch people ski. Maybe that would be a great thing. But I will tell you, once you go on a trip with somebody, and not everybody travels well, once you connect with them, and then, you know, it's almost, your trip hasn't even ended. Oh, let's do this next year. So the group that I went with to the trip I was mentioning earlier, you know, now we're going to go to Picture Rock. We're kind of keeping, we wanted something where they can get back and within a few days, 2 or 3 days. And I've always wanted to go to Picture Rock. I've lived here in Michigan, never gone, learned about it in college. My husband says he's going to go never go. I said, would you go? And they're like, oh, yeah. So, you know, now we're getting excited about that.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? Because you find out if you can travel well with people. And,
I know.
And like you, I want a little bit of adventure, but not too scary. Like, I don't want to go down a dark alley, but yet I would like you to take me into some shop, maybe do the nightlife a little bit, like stop at restaurants and maybe stop and listen to music. But I wouldn't do that alone. I would need to have somebody in a foreign country, you understand, on that one.
Exactly.
Just a little bit of adventure.
Exactly.
And then I could,
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly, you're kind of pinpointing exactly what the retreat is doing too, because a lot of retreats are all inclusive in that you come and all the food is there and everything is there for you. And mine is a little bit different in that I do want to push you a little bit in that we're going to restaurants. To have the experience to order food in another restaurant and feel empowered in that way. This way you're with a group, you're still going to be but you're going to be learning to do some of those things on your own and stepping your toe into the culture and learning more about the history and all of that.
Yes.
But in maybe a little safer context than you're just suddenly dropped off alone and trying to figure out what
exactly, like
where to go and
survival.
what to do.
Well, no, and I think it's always great. And I think once you go into other cultures and you get to see they're just like, you know, they're good people. They want to connect. You know what I'm saying? And I've never heard anybody, oh my God, the people are wonderful. And you probably experienced that too. And the coffee's amazing. And the date, you know what I'm saying? This is wonderful. So anyways, okay. So all the people out there that would love to say, okay, maybe I'm a little interested in a little bit of adventure in the year, you know, maybe next year, whatever. Because I'm telling you, nothing wakes you up just a little bit of a kick that way. How can they reach you, and how can they share how they can contact to learn more?
Yeah. So I am on pretty much every social media channel under my name, Dawn Pick Benson. It's DAWN, P as in Paul, ICK, B as in boy, ENSON. My URL, my website is also dawnpickbenson.com. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, I do have a Substack where I write a lot about travel and I'm over 50, so travel over 50. You'll hear me talk a lot about solo travel and my own experiences. So if you want to read more about what I do and just kind of follow along, those are some really great ways to do it.
Okay, we covered a lot today. Before we end this thing, is there anything that I didn't cover that you'd like to share?
Oh, I don't think so. I think we've had a really good wide-ranging talk about travel and women and, you know, why they're traveling. You didn't ask me about whether or not, I do hear a lot of women ask me, you know, do I have to be single to solo travel? And my answer is actually no, because I know a lot of women who are married who use it as a way to kind of replenish themselves, to like reconnect with themselves. And I have a really good friend who will say, you know, I come back a better wife, a better mother, a better friend after I take a little bit of time for myself and do a little bit of solo
traveling. And I'm
traveling.
dying to go to Picture Rock, so I really want to go with people that are excited to go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a big difference in saying, okay, we're going to go, you know, because you know what I'm saying.
Yep,
You want
yep.
somebody to go because they want to go. And that makes it much more fun. You
Yes,
know?
definitely, definitely.
All right. I want to thank Dawn Pick Benson for being here today and
thank you so
sharing
much.
the travel coach, what it is to be a travel coach, and that if you want a little bit of adventure, give you a call and you're going to find the adventure that fits them.
Yes,
It
that
fits
they
them.
desire, yes.
All right. This is Pamela Keim from Keim Media. We will catch you next time. Take care, everyone.